whilst you're waiting, if you could please fill out that form. Should take about a minute. It's just two very quick questions.
So hopefully you've all found the form in the chat box. Put in a couple of things for David, just to give him some feedback. Literally just a couple of things. So we've got a good number on. It's 2 minutes past 2. I'm Paul Winder from MGI in the UK and Ireland. I'd like to introduce David Benaim to you again, and many of you will be very familiar with David and his company Excel Consulting in Cambodia. He's done some great presentations for us, and I'm sure we will be similarly wowed this afternoon. No pressure there, David, looking at modern uses of PowerPoint and all the features we didn't know were there. So over to you, David. And I would just say, any questions, pop them on the chat box and we'll either deal with them as we go through or at the end, depending.
Paul, I think you're on mute.
How much of that was on mute? Am I there now?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear you. Thank you.
So I was trying to introduce you to David, so apologies for my ineptness. If you have filled in David's questionnaire, that's great. David will be very familiar to most of you now, having presented on a variety of issues, including Excel in great detail last week. If there's any questions, pop them in the chat box. If they're appropriate, we'll deal with them as we go. If not, we'll save them to the end if we can. But with no further ado, David, over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen now. Bienvenue à cette présentation. Aujourd'hui, on va parler de PowerPoint et comment on peut utiliser l'outil pour faire des présentations avec des gens qui sont de l'autre côté du monde. Okay, so with that, that's my first demo. Modern PowerPoint has the ability to go to the slideshow tab and you can tick on this, always use subtitles. You can choose from about 15 different spoken languages. Let's try another one. And then you can choose the output in about 60 languages. So I'm going to choose a random language that I don't understand. See if we have some people who speak Russian tonight, and let's see how it goes. That's all you have to do. And then you just go to slideshow mode. Hola a todos. Esta noche vamos a hablar de PowerPoint y yo quiero practicar cómo utilizar todas las cosas en PowerPoint para tener wow a tu audiencia. All right, so that's my demo. I'm going to switch it off for the rest of this. However, like we did last time, if you think that feature was wow, please type the word wow in the chat box. You've never seen that before. All right. And with that, we will get started. Couple of wows. Yes. Okay. That's just a demo to kick off what's going to be an entire hour of similar things. Now, I'm going to create the next slide. Here, I'm going to come out with a statement, and I'm going to say that 95% of business presentations are bad. That comes from a quote by Guy Kalowski of a pretty famous book that was released about 10 years ago called Presentation Zen. But the worst part about that statistic is not that 95% of business presentations are bad, but it's actually the fact that when I say this to people, they're all nodding their heads in agreement, as if it's okay. As if when they go into a presentation, they expect that 95% of the time they do that, they are going to be bored. As if it's okay that when they give a presentation themselves, on the other hand, they are going to repeat the same actions that the person before them predicted. And it's with that I would like to begin. And with that I would like to say, well, if you at home are nodding your heads in agreement with me, then the next statement shouldn't come as a surprise. Forget everything that you think you know about PowerPoint, because you are in for a shock. And I am saying this, and I'm being very, very ambitious, because I know that I can let myself down if I didn't know that I had these tools to wow you dozens of times tonight. But I am going to do that. Okay, so with that, let's go. When you're an audience member in a presentation, in a live presentation that you're face to face with, your brains are sort of here, and as the presenter begins, the audience is kind of paying attention, because everyone always pays attention right at the beginning. But as time drags on, eventually this person here will start thinking about the shopping that they have to do and the pressures that come with that. And eventually someone will think about the to-do list. Oh, I have to do these extra things for the baby. That's another stress that I didn't have before. How am I going to get through this? I just need to have my brain that's up in the clouds and not anymore in my head. And eventually, with 95% of these talks, everyone's going to have about 3/4 of their brain up on this cloud, and maybe about 25% of that brain in their heads, because they are not really paying attention to the presenter, because the presenter isn't really using any particularly great techniques for making it engaging. Eventually, the presenter might present a wow factor, or I don't know, say a joke or an interaction, and then people's brains will come back into their heads just for a little bit, until maybe eventually they just kind of go back up again. When it comes to presentations from people who are all sitting in their homes, it's even more challenging, because I don't know if every one of you people is actually on the Zoom screen, or if you're, I don't know, actually doing your task list right now. It's not anymore about thinking about your task list, about making the call to the babysitter. You could be actually physically doing that, and I have no idea. So it becomes even more important to engage your audience. But before I go into that, I just want to recap over what I've done. I have just gone through an entire series of slides without a single word in them. And you probably didn't realize, because that's how slick it was. And because in between these slides, I have these clean animations that are making it such a slick storytelling technique that you are probably watching it and realizing and in this journey with me. It's kind of like a frame by frame movie that I am releasing with these new features of PowerPoint. Features that almost no one in PowerPoint knows exists. Features that we're going to cover in the rest of this presentation. If you like that, if you like what I've done there, give me a wow, because I will keep showing you more and more of these examples. Good. All right. So forget everything you think you know. Here's another thing. Here's another technique. This is a table of contents of my presentation. But what makes this extra special is the fact that I can actually go to any one of these. So this is a sort of navigation tool. If I want to go directly to this one, I can go directly to that one and launch that video. If I want to go directly to this one, I can do that. This is a clickable interactive menu that allows me to go there. Again, something I'll show you later on, something that almost every PowerPoint user has no idea exists. But let's start with one. finding content. That's what happens if you have one of those cats. So my name is David Benaim, and I have a YouTube channel where I'm getting about 12,000 views per month. It's quite new. It's only about 9 months old, but I've got about 900 subscribers, looking to hit 1,000 in the next 2 weeks. So if people want to subscribe, it's under my name, David Benaim. And yeah, I'll send a link as well if people want to check out my videos. So I have tons of videos on PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Sheets, Power BI, and I release about 2 new videos per week. So my background, I am an accountant from the UK Accounting Institute, ICAW. I'm a Microsoft partner. In fact, a few months ago, I got given the MVP award, which, to explain it in a simple way, puts me amongst the top 100 or so people in Excel, PowerPoint, etc. in the world. So I have daily contact with the development team who ask me questions about where I think the future of this software should go. And I'm privy to confidential information about what's going to happen to the future of PowerPoint. I'm really excited for those features, but I can't share them with you because I'm in a confidentiality clause. But that's okay, because there's enough to show you that's already been released. I've done corporate training for over 1,800 people, and I run a company called Excel Consulting, and we have done consulting in IT for over 120 organizations. My email address is on my signature as well, so feel free to get in touch via email. And my Twitter handle is @DaveBenaim. I'll write that as well. People want to follow me on Twitter. So a couple of things about this. I didn't start with who I am. This is one of the mistakes that people make. I've never met any of you before, but I will say that you are not that interesting. You are not the reason. If you start off with, my name is David, I have worked with 120 organizations in 12 countries, nobody cares. Start with your wow, because that's what's going to make the brain of your audience members stay in their head and not wander off. You and introducing yourself is important, but don't do that right at the beginning. So if you like this thing, we're talking about getting content. So this is actually, these are 4 images, but you'll notice that the color is all the same. It's all consistent. It's very, very clean. Now, this is a new type of object that most PowerPoint users have no idea exists. Something called a vector image. Graphic designers love it. And as you can see, you can completely fine-tune the color to make it consistent with your theme. How do we get those? A couple of ways. Firstly, I can just type out a new slide. Okay, I'll do this from scratch. So I'll say I am an ICAW accountant and I am a Microsoft partner and I have done training and consulting work too. And then on modern PowerPoint, you can go to the Home tab and click on Design Ideas. And then it uses AI to do this for you. Isn't that cool? Now, if you don't like one specific icon, you can click on it and eventually you get this pop up. Change this to the calculator. Change this for another kind of training. You can change the colors as well. So it gives you other design ideas if you want the presets. But if you want something a little bit more custom, then you can just sort of select all of these and go to graphics format, change the color to anything you like. So this is a library of icons that Microsoft uses AI to kind of get you through. And that was all well and good, but they just got a lot better. So Microsoft also, you can go to Insert tab and choose icons. And you also have the features here. You have a searchable set of icons. All the same rules apply. You insert them. Does insert them black by default. So if you've got black backgrounds, it kind of doesn't look that good. But immediately you can just change the outline. PowerPoint sort of treats them like shapes. So you have full control over doing what you want. You can even then convert to actual shapes if you want even more control. For example, making this leg a different color of this bear, like that. So there's a library of, I think, about 3,000 to 5,000 now. They used to have 850, but they just upped it a few days ago. So I was, sorry, a few months ago. I got really excited about that. That came out about 3 years ago. But then they revealed this to me a couple of months ago, and then I got to play with it because this is absolutely brilliant. On the Insert tab, hidden away. I hate that they hide away this feature because it's absolutely fantastic. But in pictures that no one ever clicks on because they're used to these two settings, they don't know that this is here, stock images. Microsoft has prepaid for thousands of beautiful high definition stock images that are searchable about anything that you like. So I can go for accountancy like this, insert those as I choose. And then design ideas gives me ideas of how to lay it out, maybe how to overlay text on it like that. This is using AI. It knows which bit to crop to make it nice features and to make it stand out. So yeah, that is stock images directly inside of PowerPoint. Isn't that fantastic? So now some of you are thinking, well, what does the new version of PowerPoint mean? So if you go to the File tab and then Accounts, I can show you that I have this. It says Microsoft 365. It's a subscription product. So what that means is that I pay a monthly fee in my company, and I get monthly updates to PowerPoint. I have version 2006. That means the year 2020 and the 6th month. I get the features a little bit before everyone else, and that's why I'm in June and not May. But essentially, this is sort of how it looked. Now, if you have another kind of version, you'll see PowerPoint 2013, 2016, 2019. Unfortunately, some of these features are not available to you. Of what I've shown so far, design ideas and subtitles are only in 365 and stock images. Icons are in 2019. So, but I will tell you something else though. And I do this for people that aren't lucky enough to have the new version. I have this thing called the PowerPoint recipe book. And this is what I made for the classes that I teach, where I have a ton of different tools here, including 662 different icons that I have made from scratch. So like the ones that I showed you, you can sort of completely change the color, the shape, etc., because PowerPoint treats them like shapes. So if people do want to get a hold of this and do want to get a copy of this, then I'm happy to offer it for free for you. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel on YouTube, because if you're serious about learning more, I think it is good to subscribe. So I'll send the link in this one. I'll send the link so that you can get access to that. So yeah, subscribe and then also send me an email and I can give it to you. I can give you this feature here. So that's the PowerPoint recipe book. Got a ton of things here, from the icons to data visualization types, including infographic charts, instructions how to make them, structured diagrams for planning presentations. Some of these tools that graphic designers use a lot for overlaying text over full screen images and things like that. So yeah, feel free to send me an email and subscribe to my channel if you want a copy of that. So going back to this, let's do some other things. So let's go back to the feature that everyone can do. And this is actually not in PowerPoint, this is in Google. So let's say you want to search for a photo of an elephant. So most people know that you have the images feature in Google. However, from my experience, probably about 95% of everyday Google users have never clicked on this thing that says tools, and therefore they are missing out. This allows you to go to all of these filters. So if you want something that looks beautiful in PowerPoint, go to size and choose large. If you want something that is sort of a transparent background, go to color and choose transparent. I highly recommend these, and in fact, stock photos does not supersede me using transparent pictures. So just to show you what that is. If I click on it, I have this checkerboard symbol. And if I copy the image and paste it into my slide, then the picture will load and it will be able to show it to me with the background left untouched. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. There we go. So this is really good because it leaves the background untouched and it pops really well in my presentation. So I recommend you use something transparent, or these icons, because you can just sort of recolor them. Anything with your logo can work and look beautiful as well. In fact, if you do have a logo or a logo color, let's say that you have some specific color here, like let's do some obscure color like this one. And let's say that you want all of these icons or anything to be exactly the same color. Instead of sort of picking it from here, what you can do is you can choose this tool called the eyedropper. And that allows you to pick a color up from anywhere else in your slide like that. So you could do that for text as well. Select the text color, eyedropper, and then pick the color up from any other object in your slide like this. So there's another feature that most people have never played with. You can do it with shapes, you can do it with backgrounds, anywhere where you have colors. In fact, showing you an advanced technique for people who may already know this, if you want to, you can even select, if you want to go from a picture outside of your slide, as you go over it, it kind of loses it. However, for some reason this works, even though it's not really documented, but if you click and hold, you still keep your emphasis on the eyedropper. So then you can get something on a research page or absolutely anywhere that you want like this, and it will still pick up the color there in the normal context. So that is how to use the eyedropper tool. Eyedropper came in 2013. I love the eyedropper tool. If you love it, give me a wow in the chat as well. Cool. So there we've got Google Images. Try and use the transparent backgrounds. Also, you have another usage rights filter and something called labeled for reuse, which essentially means if you put that in your presentation, then no one is able to sue you for stealing it. Transparent images are really good, like this one. And avoid using stock photos because it just means that people are aware and very clear that you have stolen these photos. Anything with a watermark, you're not essentially allowed to choose these. All right. Yeah, and here's a sample of the icons that you can get, even if you have the older version of PowerPoint. If you want the PowerPoint recipe book, then I can send that to you. Just pop me an email, and if you subscribe to my channel, I can get that for you. Okay, so here's a poll that we're going to do. Maxine, are you able to launch the poll, please? This is about the human brain and how much it absorbs images. So I want you guys to vote. The human brain absorbs images faster than text, but how much faster? Is it 6 times, 60 times, 600 times, or 60,000 times faster than text? So I'll give you a minute or two to vote for that. All right, so this is a quote that I love talking about because it puts a lot of emphasis on how to, what the importance is it. Yeah, no Googling allowed. That is the case. Yeah, otherwise it makes it not really stand out. All right, so here are the results. So we've had quite a few votes, 62 votes. So the majority of the people say it's 600 times faster. We've had a few people say 6 times, 23% said 60 times, then 600, and 10% said 60,000 times. Now, the answer, if I click on this link, can open up a Microsoft form, but the answer ends up being the human brain absorbs images 60,000 times faster than text. 60,000. And that to me is absolutely staggering, because people are so far off from what they think it is. If you have text in your presentation, you are asking your audience to work 60,000 times as fast to get to the same result. Now, that is a pretty big statement. And in order to prove that, let's play a game. So for the next 3 slides, we're going to have a certain number of dots on the slide. So a very simple game. What I want you to do is just count the number of dots as soon as it comes up, and then just type in the chat when you've counted the number of dots. So I'm going to go to the next slide, just count the number of dots. All right, let's go. Next slide. All right, so I've got a bunch of people there. What we got? Most people said 10. Very, very good. Yeah, that is correct. So that takes the average person 2 seconds to count the number of dots on the screen. We're going to do it a second time. It's going to be the exact same thing, just a different number of dots on the slide. All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Wow. All right. Lots of chats there. Let's see what we've got. We've got 7. Everyone seems to be right. So let's see how long that takes. So that takes the average person about 1.2 seconds. And that makes sense, right? Fewer number of dots, less time. We're going to do it one last time. Are you ready for the last time? How many dots you have on the screen? How many you see now? All right, so we've got a few people that have answered it there. It's a little bit faster than the last time. So here we have a fewer number of dots. So this actually takes the average person 0.2 seconds to count the number of dots on the screen. So did you find that faster? And that is because I'm going to give you another concept. So it's not about counting the dots in this case. In fact, let me put it another way. If you see this number of dots, you are counting. If you see this number of dots, you are just seeing them. And the reason why that's very important is because 6 is the maximum number of dots that you can use that trick with. And 6 should be the maximum number of objects in one PowerPoint slide at any one time. And I have proven that by sort of giving you this example. So what is an object? A slide title is one object, a 2 to 3 word phrase is a second object, a picture is a third object, and an image caption is a fourth object. This together, this slide, I would say, has 5 objects. Now, an image can potentially be more than one object if it is a complex one. So this is quite clearly 4 images, 4 objects. Something that's chaotic like this takes a lot more brain capacity to absorb and figure out what's going on. And these ones with text also are not ideal. So ideally, it's good to go for something like this that has, 5 objects here, the title, the image captions, and the images. Or even better, I love this beautiful full screen slide with some text on the side. Not to do, this is clearly 7, and this is how most business presenters should think to do their slides. So this is the reason why 95% of them are not good, and why people tend to not absorb things as fast. perfect slide, what I tend to recommend, use a maximum of 15 words per slide, minimum of 3, unless you have some icons that help. 1 to 3 pictures or icons per slide, 6 objects max, and 30 size minimum. Now, the 30 size minimum is maybe a bit more lax when you've got a remote presentation because people can see things a lot clearer. But that is what I tend to recommend anyway. And as long as you don't have too many things, then 30 size is not difficult to do. Explanation as to why, and it's portrayed through this idea of a beautiful full screen image with text overlaid on the side. Notice how the text has picked up the color from the teeth of this really, really high definition animal here. So evolution, that's the reason behind it. Evolution leads to the fact that humans were able to very quickly look around and identify the number of animals trying to kill them. And they could do that by launching a feature of the brain called the iconic memory, one of 3 parts of the memories that we have. And they could identify 6 or fewer objects in order to grasp things in 1,000th of a second. So use this evolutionary advantage that your audience members have developed in order to get the most out of your presentations. All right, so putting some content together. With my talks, the beginning ones are always longer. So even though we have another 5, we will sort of go through them faster. A little help from a special panda there. All right, here's a couple of tricks. So using one element that probably people are very, very familiar with. So if you want to get this formatting to another part of the text, most people know that you can click on here and then select it somewhere else and you get that same feature. So that is the format painter, exists in PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. Not very wow yet. What is wow is that most people only know about 1/4 of what it can do. If you have some other text, what you can do if you want to apply this to multiple streams of text is you can just double click it. And then it locks in the fact that you've done that. You can even go to another slide and then take it there. So you can double click the format painter to lock in what you have put there. If you like that and you didn't know that one, give me a wow in the chat as well. Double clicking the format painter. A couple more things that the format painter can do people aren't aware of. So it also works with other objects. For example, I can take this shape with all of these features applied, or let's take this one because it's more drastic. Then I can double click it. Then I can go to this shape, go to this shape, and it works with shapes as well. Press escape to get out of it. Also, it works with pictures. I've done some picture formatting, changed the color to black and white and given it this border. I can double click on the format painter in the home tab and apply that to other things. Works with videos, works with audio even, and other things as well in your data. Also, you do have a shortcut. I love the format painter shortcut. It's copying and pasting formats if you think about it. So the shortcut for copy formats is Control-Shift-C. It's like copy, but add the shift. And the format painter paste is Control-Shift-V. So Control-Shift-C-V is copy, paste formats. I love that shortcut if there's one that you want to learn from this session. Some other things over here. So people always get misconstrued and get confused when you have objects that are not perfectly aligned. We're mostly aware that you have these sort of red things that come in between them. What many people don't know, though, is you have align tools. So you can multi-select objects with a lasso select like this. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. And once you've done that, you have a range, you have a line, and you can align top. And you can arrange, align, and you can distribute horizontally or vertically, like this. You can do that again. So I can do arrange, align, bottom, and I can do align, distribute horizontally there. You can do the same with, and you can drag them if you want that sort of adjustment. This is a much, much faster way to get you to align objects. These two features are available in every PowerPoint version. You don't need to have the new one. The next one, though, this is the storytelling tool. This is only in 2019. So you've seen me do this a lot, but this idea of how you can use PowerPoint as a storytelling device, here's what you do. You right-click and you duplicate a slide. And then you just sort of redo and play around with the objects. So I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to make this one bigger. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to take this one and make it really, really small. I'm going to take this text and change the font and make it maybe smaller, like that. I'm going to take this image and I'm going to rotate it. Okay, computer, sorry. Yeah, so you could do all sorts of things. Even this caterpillar, this is an icon, so you can do all sorts of things with it. You can also move it around the slide as you wish. And then in the second slide, you go to the transitions tab and you click morph, and look at that. You see that? That's what you have to do. So you just sort of copy and duplicate a slide, or you can just pick an object and take that from one slide to another. So I can also then just take this from this and change the color like that. We rotate it and change the size as well. Transitions and morph, and it just does that with the object. So morph is fantastic because it opens up this whole new world of storytelling that most presenters don't know it's possible. And storytelling, as most public speakers will tell you, is the epitome of what you're going to do to get a good presentation. Slide zoom. So that is being able to have the clickable slide menu that I showed you at the beginning. And that allows you to go from a traditional slideshow, which is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, to something that is completely any direction you want. You can go from 1 to 2, or from 1 to 4, from 1 to 3, whatever you want. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a sec. But first, I just want to show you how different these two slides are from anything you've seen before. Firstly, I'm using icons. Most people have never seen those. Secondly, I don't actually have any text in this apart from the title. Thirdly, I'm using this morph technique to sync and to smoothly give this video-like sequence to give the audience a journey from slide to slide. So that is morph, that is icons, and all of those greatness features that come with this. Best use cases, which strategy are you going to use? Are we running out of time? You can skip section 4 or 5 if you're running out of time, or a table of contents as well, which is what I tend to use it for. Again, look at these icons and look how slick this is to go from one to the other. Design Ideas gave me these and I just love them. So how do you do it? You can go to Insert tab and you have this thing called a zoom. I know it's not on the Zoom call that we're on now, but you have 3 options. I use the summary zoom, and then you get it to pre-select your sections using PowerPoint sections feature. And then you can discuss, you can, untick one and tick another one, press insert like that. And then it will create this slide that allows you to do this thing. Now you do want to, of course, set out the first one in each section to give you a title like that, but that is effectively how you can create them. I tend to create sections using this feature in PowerPoint, another one a lot of people don't use, but I really love it. And this kind of summary section, I just couldn't imagine doing a presentation today without it. All right, so with that, let's go to the next one. So much easier to navigate as well. There's using Zoom, using Morph. I love those. Let's go to the final steps before you go up on stage. And here, you maybe should have had some practice. So I'm going to show you a few different things. I'm going to show you some interaction tools. So how to do a rehearsal, particularly if you don't have someone in your office to do a rehearsal with, and how to do the subtitles I've shown you already. A new feature called PowerPoint Live and Forms as well. So going into my web browser here. So I'm going to open up PowerPoint Online. Now, PowerPoint Online, everyone has access to it. You can get a free account if you don't have Microsoft Office 365. Just go on Google and look for PowerPoint Online. It's effectively trying to be Google Slides. It's just like a PowerPoint version of being online. I don't tend to use it for authoring, creating presentations, but I do use it for these two things in the slideshow tab. If you Google it, you get to this page, and then all you need to do is just sort of navigate to your presentation, and you can just drag that into this, and it uploads it onto your OneDrive, and then you can just do everything that I'm about to show you. So I've preloaded this one. You've got a lot of what PowerPoint can usually do, like inserting slides, boxes, shapes, images, etc. You also have access to icons here if people want to get access to those and don't have the newer version. What I want to show you is in the slideshow tab these two things. So I'm going to do this thing called Rehearse with Coach. This is fantastic. This uses AI again, another AI feature. Welcome to the PowerPoint Rehearsal Coach. I'm going to press Start Presenting. Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to talk about remote presenting. What do you guys think of that? Is that something that you guys think is appropriate? See that? It doesn't like sensitive phrases. In fact, the manpower required behind this is not really what we would look for. There's another one. What do you think this means for the gays today? What are the gays going to have to do with it? Yeah, so I've actually had a lot of fun trying to guess what things it doesn't like. I'm not going to use some of the profanities that I know it's going to reject on this presentation. But yeah, it also doesn't like me using fillers like or are or like, basically, things like that. And as I go through my slides, it's going to give me other recommendations like 95% biz talks are bad. As I go through these and I speak really, really fast, it's going to pick up that I'm speaking really fast. And here I've got a remote control and my mobile phone. And I don't know what's going to happen, but eventually it's going to tell me that my mouse is too big. And there we go. Yes, got it. So try speaking a bit slower or a bit faster in some cases. And if you go through your slides, as you're doing this, you have a whole load more tools. Turn text into icons, ICAW accountant, Microsoft partner, teaching, consulting. I'm not getting it to work what I want it to do, but that's okay. I'm going to press escape, and then it gives you this at the end of your talk. So look at that. It gives you a report on what your sensitive phrases should be instead of what you've done, what fillers you're using. This, if you read the slides, this will tell you you read the slide and actually give you which slide you read it on, whether you're monotone, how your pace varied over time, when you were too fast or too slow, any fillers, and they are always updating this. So this is the first thing, still the preview. It's coming out with a whole load of new features. It's going to be in loads of places in loads of cool ways. So really excited for the AI coach. Always recommend people using this. The other thing here is this thing called Present Live. Now, I'm not going to give a full demo because we are running out a bit of time, but essentially I can do this and then other people can scan with our browser. And I'm going to play this 1-minute video that Microsoft have made about it. But before I do that, I'm going to share computer sound so it's nicer for you.
Giving presentations is crucial for educators, businesses, everyone. It can be one of the most important things you do. So you need all the help you can get. Live presentations in PowerPoint lets you engage with your audience better than ever before. When you start presenting, a QR code or URL lets the audience connect. This unlocks new features where they can follow along with the deck, navigate on their own, get back to the current slide quickly, and enable real-time captions or subtitles in their preferred language. Anyone in the crowd can review or follow along with what you're saying, aunque no hables el lenguaje. As you're presenting, you can see how many people have joined the live presentation. The audience can provide live reactions, which shows you how your presentation is being perceived, letting you adjust on the fly. After you finish presenting, the audience is prompted to provide their feedback on how you did, so you can focus on areas to improve. These features will help make your presentations more engaging and create a closer connection between you and your audience, giving you confidence to present better than you ever have before. Engage with your audience using live presentations in PowerPoint.
Well, if you like that, give it a wow. Imagine that. So I showed you, everyone gave me the biggest wow when I used subtitles in one language. Imagine a scenario where you have 500 people speaking a mixture of 60 languages, and each person is choosing their preferred language that's real-time auto-translating, whilst they're able to react to slides on the fly, and the presenter is getting live feedback as they're doing it. This is the future of where presentations are going. I have this feature now. It's still in preview mode, and it's only in PowerPoint Online for now. But and I haven't used it today because it doesn't quite work as well when I'm doing demos, which I am. So it's only when you've got only the slides there. Use forms. So we've used polls today. I've also used, the first one I used is on Microsoft Forms. So Microsoft Forms is a lot like Google Forms, and that just sort of allows for different ways to look around things. So I did ask here, the first questions were, how often do you present? It seems most people do it 3 to 10 times a year. And the first one is getting the audience to remember, interacting with the audience. So interacting with the audience is number 2. Use polls. It's built into Zoom. It's built into Teams. We're covering a next session. We're going to talk about how to use Microsoft Teams for accounting, business present, for accounting work, including presentations and share screens features as well. So I'm going to show you more about these polls then. Displaying data effectively. The 4th session that we're doing in 3 weeks with MGI is about data visualization. So that's where we're going to cover this one. Getting the audience to remember. And so this is the number 1 thing, but that is really, really a useful thing that's actually linked a lot with making nice slides, because if you have too much text, people will not remember. So yeah, thanks for doing that. With forms, you can just sort of create a new one super easily. And if you've used Google Forms before, it's super good. You just sort of add a question, choose your question type, and just when you're done, you can share it with people inside or outside your organization there. All right, so let's go to giving the talk. So when you are giving a talk using remote working tech, it is useful to use the share screens feature. So the shared screens feature is in all of your presentation software. For example, in Teams, I'll just make a very, very quick meeting. The thing about share screens is that every IT person just loves using it and has no idea why everyone else is not using this. So I can share my screen. I can choose to include system audio and share a desktop or a window in itself. And then it will show all the participants what I'm seeing here, including my mouse movements and everything else as I go along. Include system audio is what you want to do if you're showing a video or something on screen at the same time, because that will then bring the audio from your computer. With Zoom, you have a few other advanced techniques, like the ability to have multiple people sharing screens at the same time, or you can also share a whiteboard and have people sort of write on things. I do kind of like using that sometimes as well on Zoom, but I won't show it right now. If you are going to use share screens, then you have a bunch of advantages. Firstly, you can share your screen and then go into non-PowerPoint. So as you've seen me do multiple times, I toggle between things that I want to show. I can toggle between a form, I can toggle between a YouTube link, I can toggle between a demo. Demos are very, very effective when you're working through things. So again, I will say that share screens are just not used enough. You can also have ways of multiple people editing a PowerPoint at the same time, even when you're in slideshow mode. Always use your mobile phone on the side, because this is a good place to have your notes. And yeah, finally, if you are sharing your screen, this is a must-know shortcut. It's Windows and the plus button is zoom in. Windows and minus is zoom out. So if you are using share screens in any application, then this is a must-know shortcut. It's nothing to do with whether you're in Zoom, whether you're in Teams, whether you're in PowerPoint, but this is how you can zoom in and out. Other types of ways that you can share your screen. So if you do choose to share only a PowerPoint set of slides, then sometimes the user can themselves go back and forth during the slides. However, I personally don't like giving everyone that flexibility in there. Giving the talk as well, you have something called the presenter view. By the way, I don't use this present online. I don't think it works very well. But if you click on presenter view and present your slideshow, then you get all sorts of other indications like how long you've spent, which slides are going. This only sort of works well if you are presenting through another screen, essentially. Yeah, so this is how it would look. Here's a tip. If you want to get to this, but you're only using one screen, you can use the shortcut Alt F5, and then it will show there. And you can advance slides, see what's coming up next, and do other sorts of navigations. Another one, and this one works whatever screen you're in. So whenever you're presenting, if you press the minus button on your keyboard, you get a way to go through all of your slides like this. Do you see this? And you can go there, do whatever you want. Minus can give you this menu of your slides. If you use the sections, which I think are brilliant, then you can navigate through the sections as well. So yeah, your audience does see this at the same time, but I do recommend using it because I think it's useful. Cool. And with that, let's go into our final, well, penultimate section, but the last one is just a summary. So Netflix for presentations. So this is a concept that I like to talk about because ultimately people get bored when they're in presentations. I'm sure some of you are sidetracking and doing other things now. So if you're not going to sit through a live presentation and you're going to fall asleep, why or how would you ever sit through an entire video of a presentation? People don't like watching hour-long videos, 2-hour-long videos. People want to watch things that are short, to the point. That's why my YouTube channel, if I do a short video, I can see that people are interested, and I can see what percentage of people last through the first 5 minutes of my video, etc. And mostly people want something fast, something quick. So if I go into show you this demo, this is outside of PowerPoint, but you do have a way to record a meeting from Teams. And what that does is it allows you to save a file to a service called Microsoft Stream. So if I want to, I can click on Start Recording, and then I will show this in more detail as well. But that ends up getting uploaded to this service called Microsoft Stream. So Microsoft Stream is able to automatically transcribe my entire talk. And if that's not enough, I can, if I want to, make edits as I go along. If there's a few different places, I can navigate through text, and that will jump through a certain part of the
And that as well.
Or if I want to go even further, I can even search it. So imagine that you search for your name, and then it will just give you every time where your name is mentioned, and you can play from that point as well. I'm going to go through it all, but that's how the search works inside this feature. I'm going to showcase this in a bit more detail later on in the next talk, that's in 2 weeks, about Teams, because this is very linked with Teams. You also have interactivity, so you can add a form inside the video. So I can say when someone gets to this, what are they going to, we're going to ask them a question to make sure they've been listening, because video is what I think is the future. Now, a lot of people tell me when they are presenting, they say something like, well, you know, I need to put in more content on the slide. You know, I'm presenting numbers, I'm presenting finance, particularly accountants love telling me this. I'm an accountant as well. I know that that's just not true, because the brain that's attached to your head that enjoys watching those 2-minute YouTube videos, the brain that's attached to your head that is scrolling constantly on social media apps because it gets bored after 3 seconds, is the same brain that is going to go to these presentations where someone else is going to have 50 words on their slide and is going to be showing you 20 different numbers. Your brain is the same, whatever it is you're doing. So try and convey your message through a different medium without having all of the text if you want your audience to remember it. And that's what everyone said in the form is the #1 priority. I'll show this one next time because this is a pretty good feature. But let's get to the end there. There we go. So let's get to the finish line over here. Oh, who's going to win? So to summarize what I've talked about, I've shown you some Google image search tricks, how to filter it for transparent images, for large images, labeled for reuse, and also how to get stock photos, thousands of them, directly within PowerPoint, how to get thousands of icons that you can recolor to match your logo, whatever you want, using the eyedropper to color match as well. Using the alignment tools, double-clicking the format painter, using the morph storytelling device. Morph is kind of like basically every single animation together all rolled into one. You've seen me use morph through the entirety of this presentation. And the reason why I think morph is so important is because once you know the morph feature, it just completely rejigs exactly how you would go about creating a presentation. It's a bit like for the Excel users, using VLOOKUP versus not using VLOOKUP. People who are avid VLOOKUP users probably know that that will change your data structure. It's the same with PowerPoint and the morph technique. Using the presentation coach uses AI to give you live feedback over what you're doing and a report afterwards. And you can get your talks transcribed. I've shown you lots of ways to get live subtitles, whether it's through the meeting recording, whether it's as a presenter speaking, or the PowerPoint live feature that allows people to get their own language personalized to them. So my name was David Benaim, and my YouTube channel link is under my name, David Benaim here. I also have a Twitter handle @DaveBenaim, so feel free to check me out there. And I do offer organizations some consultation and also some free webinars on remote working tools, as well as just things that make it easier for businesses to get through these tough times. And presentation skills, Excel skills, doing a lot of online training at the moment, and I'm getting pretty good feedback for it. So one thing about this pandemic is, even though I'm in Cambodia and you might be elsewhere, it means that we can still work together quite nicely and easily. And I'm able to do this webinar to people on all 4 corners of the earth.
David, we've got a couple of questions. Can we just share them quickly?
Yes, I've just got 2 more slides and then I'll
okay.
wrap up. Yeah. So with that, I just want to leave you with what I started you with. So 95% of business presentations are deemed to be bad. And the reason for that is because 95% of the PowerPoint buttons never ever get clicked on, including this morph transition, all these effects using the stock image that I found that almost every PowerPoint user has no idea has ever existed. All right, so that's the end. And yes, let's have a couple of questions to share.
David, there was one really interesting comment at the end that Pierce said that he's got a PowerPoint presentation he's making next week, and he now realizes he's got to prepare it all over again. So thank you very much. But on a more serious point, we had the question raised earlier that you were talking about only having 15 words, was it, or 6 points on a slide? And someone was asking, how do you get around actually presenting on technical issues, which accountants sometimes do present on? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so that's a really, really interesting point. I'll just put in my YouTube again if anyone wants it. So that's a longer discussion that I actually have a 3-day course on PowerPoint and presenting skills. The thing about technical issues is that, yes, they might be important to convey, but there is a difference between the slides that go up on your screen and sort of a reading document that you can send to people. The slides that go up on your screen, they should be something that only works with narration. The equivalent I give is, imagine watching a movie on mute. If you watch a movie on mute, then you're likely to not be able to pick anything up on the movie. And that is because the movie is intended to be made with speaking, with audio. The issue that a lot of people face, and again, this could take another whole presentation or multiple ones that I can talk through or discuss with people. But people create slides that are both a reading document and something that goes up with narration. And they create the same document to serve both purposes. It doesn't quite work, unfortunately. Now, here is what I'm going to say, though. If you come next week, I'm going to showcase, as well as Teams, I'm going to showcase another Office 365 thing that's called Microsoft Sway. Very, very little used. It's fantastic. And this can turn a PowerPoint or a Word document in a few clicks into something that is just completely different and completely interactive. So come next week and I will kind of show you a little bit more about that. But what I would say is, yeah, your presentation with narration tool is not the same as what people want to see as a reading document. So it's difficult. And the technical information should go in the reading document, but it's not going to be what makes your audience remember your slides, which is, yeah.
We've got a couple of things in the Q&A section. Alan's asked, how do you return to the content?
Looking at the form, the #1 goal of everyone do it.
David, there's a couple in
How do I
the
return to the contents page? Okay, so that is a feature within Zoom. So it's a feature within Zoom, actually. That's sort of what it does. It allows you to sort of go through your slides. So if I just insert one very quickly, press insert there, that's 7 objects. So now what I can do is I can shift F5. So as I go through all of these slides, it actually toggles and it automatically goes back into the contents page. So it's automatic. A video on my YouTube channel where I talk about what it is. I talk about it more. It's also in my top 10 features of the 2010s. Yeah.
Thanks, David. And we've got a couple of queries about which subscription of Microsoft Office do I need to be able to have all these tools. So I know after the Excel presentation last week, you sent around a sort of summary of features and versions. Can we do something similar for this today?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I will make one of those for this one.
Thank you. So Daddy and others have been wondering about that. We'll get something out to everybody so you've got a guide as to which version you need to have to get which features.
Although I think there's another part of that question, which is, do they need to have the E5, the E3, the E1 license? You need to have the version that comes with a downloadable version of Microsoft Office. So They keep changing the names, but just make sure that it comes with PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Office apps, and you will get them. The Business Essential doesn't have it, but Business does. E1 doesn't, but E3 does.
Okay, thanks, David. I know you mentioned next week, but I know you meant the week after next for the other things that you'll be talking about on Teams and other things. So, thank you for that.
Yes. Correct. Yes. Yes.
We've got a bit of signal, at least I have. Next week, we've actually got a presentation by Caseware, which is aimed at existing users particularly, but users or new users, potential new users would also be welcome, and details of that will be going out very shortly. So we'll be seeing David in a couple of weeks' time, looking at Teams for accountants and a few other interesting tricks, I'm sure. So thanks, David. You had another bold flow of wows in today. I think people will look at all their presentations in a very different light. It's been really insightful, and I'm sure everybody's taking something away from it, which should make for some much better conferences and presentations for all of us in the future. So thanks ever so much for your time in putting this together. I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks' time if we don't speak in the meantime. So thanks for that, David, and see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul and Maxine, for putting this together as well.
Cheers, David.